$9 million in expenses. Your bond debt increased about $3.6 million. As I mentioned, you did issue about $5.4 million in bonds. Your pension liabilities under CERS was about $7.4 million at the end of the year, as compared to about $6.4 million in the prior year, so an increase of about a little over $1 million. The KTRS, of which the Commonwealth has assumed the responsibility for it, was about $39 million, as compared to about $31 million in the prior year. That was an $8 million increase in the KTRS. For OPEB liabilities, the KTRS medical insurance, the district's responsible for, the total is 5.5, district's responsible for about 4.2, and the Commonwealth's responsible for the difference of about 1.4. Life insurance, Commonwealth responsible for the whole thing of $68,000. For CERS OPEB liability, your liability was about $2 million at the end of the year. Going on page 7, continuing on page 8, there at the top shows a summarized balance sheet for the school district as a whole combined. So it shows like total assets, about $64.7 million, and here shows you a comparison to the prior year. So you can see, you know, total assets increased a lot, mainly because of that increase in the cash with the unspent construction and bond money. Total liabilities also increased. Again, you issued bonds, and that unspent grant money is an unearned revenue in here. So that's the big increases there. The total net position, about $15.1 million as compared to about $9.8 million in the prior year. So an increase of overall net position as well. Going on down the page, you can see a comparison of revenues, 2023 compared to 2022. Big increase in state and federal revenue. A lot of ESSER grants were received. Top of page 9, you can see revenues over expenses about $5.3 million this year as compared to $2.5 million in the prior year. Capital assets increased about $1.1 million, which is net of depreciation. The renovation projects at the high school were started during the year, was the construction, I guess, going on. Debt service, as I mentioned to you, did increase from the issuance of the bonds, about $5.4 million. There at the bottom, you did adopt a budget for fiscal year 2024 with a 3.6% contingency, and you're beginning the year with a cash balance in the general fund of about $6.6 million. Then going on through, starting on page 10, just that summarized balance sheet that I mentioned to you, that gives you just a little more detail of what makes up those total assets. So it kind of just gets into a little more detail as you get in here. Page 12 shows you the fund fund breakdown. So here you can see, you know, the general fund, which is more current financial resources, takes out the capital assets and the debt. More just cash, receivables, payables. Page 14 shows the revenues and expenses. So like for the general fund, as I mentioned to you, the total revenue is $19.2 million, expenses $18.9 million. Special revenue fund is all your grants. Construction fund, you did spend about a little over $2 million on construction. And you can see also that $5.4 million of bonds issued. Page 16 shows the proprietary funds, which is the food service fund, child care fund, and preschool fund. Your food service fund continues to do well. As you can see on page 17, it had an increase in net position of a little over $434,000. And cash on page 18 increased in food service about $411,000. Page 19, you have some trust funds, about $44,000. Page 21 shows your budget and actual comparison for the general fund. Here you can see that your revenues came in about almost 1.8 million more than budgeted, and expenditures came in about 4 million less than budgeted. So very favorable budget comparisons. Starting on page 23, gets into the notes, and I'm not going to go through all of those. The first footnote just tells your accounting policies, which there were some new accounting standards adopted, but they really didn't have any impact on your financial statements. There's some accounting policies coming up in the future, none that seem to be significant to your all's financial statements to mention. Page 32, footnote 4 shows a breakdown of your cash. And new this year, you did have some investments. All that excess cash that you do have of unspent grant money and bond money is being invested on page 33 in U.S. Treasury notes. That is one big impact on your financial statements this year was you've got this money invested and interest rates are pretty good right now. So you've got, I think, almost $900,000 or so, something like that in interest income this year. So a big number for interest income. But here you can see you had a little over 7.1 million in U.S. Treasury notes and money market 6,800. Page 34, long-term debt. And again, I mentioned you issued the bonds, 5.4 million. Bottom of the page there on 34 shows the debt maturities and how much, the Kentucky School Facilities will actually be paying of your debt, and then how much you're responsible for. So next year, you will be responsible for about 1.6 million of the debt. Top of page 35 is your KISTA, which is about 100,000 due next year. Page 36 is a breakdown of capital assets. And again, I mentioned the big thing was some construction in progress this year, a little over 2 million. There were no new leases that you entered into. Then it gets into the pension disclosures. I'm not going to go through those. Page 54, continuing on to page 55, shows your on behalf payments. Those are payments that the state is making on your behalf. That totals about 6.5 million. For instance, they're making the teacher retirement contributions of about 3.6 million, and the health insurance about 2.3 million. I usually like to point those out. And there's also mentioned there a subsequent event where you issued another almost 2.7 million of bonds on August 8th, subsequent to year end. So. The next so many pages are the pension and OPEB, telling the liabilities, the rates, how much funded they are. I will mention that the contributions for the year for CERS was about 670,000, and for OPEB was about 97,000. So it's a large number in your budget. Then there's some notes to those schedules. Then, starting on 68 is the combining schedules that shows some even more detail of the other funds that you saw at the top that are not considered major funds, like the District Activity Fund, Student Activity Fund, SEEK Fund, FSPK, and Debt Service Funds. Page 70 are the school activity funds. So here you can see the high school, middle school, and the money flowing through those accounts. There's total at year end about 250,000 in cash at those, and about total of 269,000 receipts and 229,000 of disbursements. Page 71, this is required by KDE to provide a detailed statement for the high school. So here you can see the detail for that. 72 and 73 is the scheduled expenditures of federal awards. You received spent almost $7 million of federal money. We tested the ESSER funds and the child nutrition cluster as major programs this year. Page 74, 75 is our report on internal control and on compliance in accordance with government auditing standards. And basically, as part of doing the audit, we look at your internal controls, we test for compliance with laws and regulations, and if we had any findings, they would be in this report, but we didn't have any, so it is a clean report. And then the next report is required for your federal programs. I mentioned to you the two major programs. We look at the internal control for those two major programs and test for compliance. And if we had any findings on them, they would be in this report, but we didn't have any. So it is a clean report as well. Page 79 is the summary the federal government likes to see. So you'll see unmodified opinions, no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, the two major programs, no findings basically, so that is all clean. Page 80, if we'd had any findings in the prior year, we'd have to follow up on them, but we didn't have any, so nothing to report there. Even though we had nothing to report, KDE wants us, even no matter what we find, they want us to submit a letter with any recommendation. And so in the back is our management letter. The only items we have are related to activity funds. So you'll see on pages 82 and 83, we had a few items. Booster clubs weren't always turning in their annual financial reports. We had a couple instances where the donations were not adequately documented. At Owingsville Elementary, we had one instance where a deposit wasn't made within 1 day at the middle school, and one instance where an invoice wasn't provided for a purchase at Owingsville. So that was all in the audit. I have a separate letter in the back, which is just our standard communication, basically mentioning there were some new accounting policies, but they had no impact on your financial statement. There's estimates in your financial statements, depreciation, accrued sick leave, your leased assets, the OPEB and pension liabilities. However, we have reviewed those and tested those and determined they appear reasonable. There were no difficulties encountered in performing the audit, no past audit adjustments, no disagreements with management, and basically no other issues that we feel like we need to bring to your attention at this time. I went fast. Any questions?
It's a lot of information.
It is a lot of information to take in 15 or 20 minutes.
And we've all been through these reports annually each year, and I appreciate all your all's hard work, and it looks like, once again this year, we've come out with a very good outcome.
Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Deerfield.
Thank you. And as always, Brittany is doing an excellent job.
Thank you very much. Okay, next on the working session agenda is item number 4, discussion of our current renovation cost with Ross Durant.
Okay, good evening. Just to clarify, are we talking to the current high school, or is this just big picture middle school?
We have on here for the middle school.
Okay. Okay.
But you feel free to do both.
Okay. Let's see where I can start. So just to kind of give a refresher to everyone, The presentation that we shared last time was to show how we found the projected project cost and ultimately how to identify some funding to cover that, to kind of lay it all on the table. What the district facility plan will see is KDE's actual $355 a square foot cost number. So currently, in terms of the needs reported as part of the KFIX assessment, the deficiencies of your existing building, not talking anything new, just what you need to be covered, KDE projects that to be truly 22 million, and that's using their number. The 34 million that we showed you all is giving you realistic ballpark numbers for everything that's been identified as part of that scope. So just wanted to clarify that piece. I'm not really sure where we need to kind of jump from there, but ballpark is, so far we've completed our assessment for the full-on district, and we are working on the actual facility plan, which will go to KDE, will actually show roughly a $22 million need, and then compounding the middle school need with other district building needs, we'll figure out how the state can figure out how to supplement your actual middle school endeavor. I probably will stop there in case there are specific questions, but that's where we are in terms of getting the cost estimate and getting it reflected into the district facility plan. Oh.
Brett, we lost them up here, Brad. I could hear you, but it was just from here. You stopped
Gotcha.
coming through the speakers.
Okay.
In the middle school renovation, there has to, through the facilities plan, we're 4,000 square feet short or 10,000?
You are technically 10,000 square feet
Okay.
short. The building itself, if you want to go apples to apples, KDE would expect you to have about 4,000 square feet if you were having a brand new school. 4,000 feet extra just to kind of cover the balance. When it comes to what you're actually deficient, there might be some spaces like you might need more resource rooms, you might need more a dedicated music room and not just a band room. So the 10,000 square foot is to truly reflect the actual spatial needs to meet the KDE model program. But if you want to talk about building size, regardless of what you have, technically you're short just 4,000, but to really be compliant with KDE, you need 10.
So is our classroom size at the middle school currently, is it below what it should be, or?
On average, your classroom sizes do not fit the ideal size for 25 students. However, the current number of classrooms you have in the middle school are actually enough to fit your capacity. So it's really more about your specialty classrooms. So I could probably find a diagram later, but for example, I know you have a dedicated band room. KDE would recommend that you actually have a dedicated music room as well. You may currently have, I think, one science classroom, and KDE would recommend that you have maybe 2 or 3. So if you're talking about your standard English, math kind of classrooms, yes, you have enough. They are smaller, but you have enough of them to cover your capacity. It's a lot of your actual specialty specific classrooms, resource, science, music, where the deficiency comes in. A part of the 10,000 square feet also is reconstructing the gym, because a big part of the gym is not spatial issues, but more accessibility issues. And the bleachers themselves, just to get brand new bleachers, they're integrated to your structure, so you would likely have to replace the full-on structure to get that need met. So that 10,000 includes the gym part because of that being the most robust way and correct way to get your needs to upgrade your gym accordingly. The difference, once you remove the gym from that 10,000, is your other classrooms that you would need to either renovate or expand your footprint to accommodate. But your issue is not with your current standard classrooms, because you have enough of those. They're just maybe a little too small, but again, you have enough of those.
Sure.
Mr. Reeves, you were talking about extras and specialty. Would there be any consideration of using the current gym as an auditorium, since it already has stage and capacity, and then possibly a new gym to make a better gym floor and better facility for athletics?
The KDE model program does not call or expect to have an auditorium as part of the middle school. There is a allowable locally identified program allowance for specific kind of special uses in each individual building. I believe that the middle school, I don't have it written down here, but I believe the middle school is underutilizing their locally identified square footage. So that is one avenue. We can work with KDE to make sure that if there's an interest for an auditorium, that we could find a way to include it as part of that allowable square footage. But we would be able to work with you all to figure out how the gym, for example, say you wanted to build a brand new gym, we can figure out how that current gym could be reused as part of additional science classrooms, an auditorium potentially, a larger media center, stuff to that effect.
Okay, thank you.
One quick question. Let's just say we don't have the funds to renovate the entire middle school. Do you have y'all compiled a list yet of like the top 10 things that need to be addressed at the middle school to continue on with what we have and the funds we have?
Short answer is yes. So our office has already drafted a version of a draft BG1 to address a portion of the needs should funding not be available for that. One initial way to kind of divide up the two halves is you could either go on a full-on architectural, more aesthetic approach where you're addressing your foundations, your structure, your windows, your hardware, your roof, maybe even your site pavement, some wall finishes, a handful, not many, but a handful of electrical or maybe some plumbing fixtures. Or there's a longer list of specific heating, ventilation, AC/plumbing, electrical scope that you could focus on instead with the same pot of money. So yes, we do have a list. It's a kind of a long kind of list, but there is a way to focus on one option A or option B, and clearly, you know, the board or the local planning committee could determine we want a mixture of both. But in order to truly get you a fully upgraded building, in my opinion, it would be that you either focus on the more visually pleasing or aesthetics kind of concerns, and that does include some safety and ADA issues, or you spend the bulk of your money on replacing your HVAC unit, upgrading your lights, upgrading your plumbing, and there's not a good clean line that breaks it in half, because with the HVAC piece, you might be able to renovate your bathrooms. It just won't be like new flooring and new finishes. It would just be like fixtures and maybe some upgrades in lighting. So there is a list. It's kind of hard to kind of figure out where the break is, but those are two options that we have developed as a draft option, should that be the direction we need to go.
I think by early spring, we need to know what the architect's opinion is of the top 5 needs that school has.
I can give you a kind of a brief list really quick. So the top 5, and this is only in the magnitude of like how much it's going to cost and identifying the 5. So let's say there's no way to figure out how to expand your building and your gym is pretty much what it is from now on. You could spend most of your money on, a good chunk of it could be on HVAC, as well as upgrading your intercom and your security systems in the building, upgrading and expanding your fire alarm and your emergency lights. Same deal for expanding and upgrading your sprinkler system throughout the entire building, and mostly addressing your electrical service and distribution needs building-wide. I think there's a little bit of money left over to also address your plumbing. What the trade-offs are in that instance of those 5 items, HVAC, normally you want to go ahead and replace your ceilings and upgrade your lighting, because you're already exposing your structure and exposing your heating and cooling system. You don't have to do that, but my point is that typically it's harder for the contractors to do that and maintain the integrity of your system or your finish. So typically you kind of see HVAC and a ceiling replacement as part of the same scope. In this proposal, ceiling would be something that we basically have to kind of phase and figure out how you do that without, paying for a new ceiling building wide. Another trade-off is if you talk about fire alarms and sprinklers, same deal. You're already in the ceiling, but now you have people trying to work around your existing lighting, your existing ceilings, and patching and repairing as you see fit. And then maybe the last trade-off is if you're in their plumbing upgrades, say you get all your restrooms and most of your major plumbing infrastructure upgraded, but you won't get necessarily a fully renovated restroom for your entire building. And a lot of your safety or accessibility concerns might get limited in what you get to address. For example, say a restroom isn't fully accessible and someone with a wheelchair might need a little bit more room clearances to actually fit and get proper turnaround clearances. Doing a plumbing upgrade, we can do what we can to make that get resolved, but realistically, a lot of that might require some stalls getting replaced or additional toilet accessory grab bars getting installed. And I didn't even mention the major need of basically replacing your elevator, which I'm hearing is not functioning really well at all.
Okay, one question. We had, I think, you tell me if I'm wrong, we had 6 pipes burst last winter due to the cold weather, which last winter was very cold. But we had, am I quoting it right?
We had 4, we
Okay.
had 4 at the middle school, 2 at
Okay.
other schools.
Okay.
And it wasn't the cold, it was pressure
Okay.
in the pipes. The pipes are so thin, the pressure just blew them out.
Well, yes, so we had 4 water lines break there. Of course, everybody knows what a water line does when it breaks. It only makes a mess. And that's a concern going forward, that we're going to have more and more of those as time goes on. So that's a big concern. And then also, I didn't hear anything in there. How did the roofs fare, in your all's opinion?
The roofs are definitely beyond the point of basically trying to patch and repair. So ultimately, it's due to be replaced building wide. The average state standard for trying to replace a roof is assuming about 15 to 20 years of a life cycle. And technically, while your latest edition, I think, was done in 2006, while that one is not quite ready, it's approaching that age. It's at least 15 years old, right? And 20 is assuming that it's a good enough system that has no issues. So it would be our recommendation that you go ahead and replace the full-on roof, especially if you want to do an upgrade of your HVAC system, which might require some rooftop units. And if you don't replace your roof, but you do the HVAC scope, then it's a matter of like, okay, how much of the roof warranty, if any, still applies, can help cover any patches or leaks that might happen from new penetrations in your roof. So bottom line, a roof is definitely a big item that should be considered for replacement, but the roof, in my opinion, would be something that we want to recommend as it could be incorporated with the HVAC scope, but it could be a big piece that finds its way into either bucket A or bucket B of whatever other scope you want to proceed with.
We have had leaks during rain storms too there. So that was just a concern of mine. So, okay. Any other questions from the board about that? No? Okay.
Yes, my question is, doing all of these different things you're saying, are we structurally sound?
So we have not been, I'll say it this way. The assessment that we do as part of the district facility plan process, we document the existing structure, but we don't have a structural engineer as part of the group that actually assesses the building. So we would ultimately respond from seeing obvious major cracks or stuff that were clearly evident in the building tour or that's been pointed out to us. To our records, we found no evidence of issues. However, that's not what the structural engineer is saying. That's just seeing us through our tour that we didn't see anything that was too concerning. I do know, again, going back to the gym, if your goal is to make it more accessible, inherently that's a structural project on its own because the gym bleachers are on top of your locker rooms themselves, let alone getting a regulation size middle school clearance of a basketball court. That means more structure has to be involved. So Do we see evidence of there being structural issues? No, but are the structures in the 1939 section and 1970 section at a point to where once we start to demo hypothetically for a project, will we see evidence of decay or concerns? Yes, that's a safe assumption to make, and in fact, the assessment reflects some monies being required to address those needs, whether it's a minor repair or if the scope is to basically enlarge openings for doorways or anything else that requires a little bit more structural involvement, we can definitely incorporate it in there. But do we see any red flags from our visits? No.
I think that's it from the board on this particular item.
Okay. Now, I know there may be some other items about some proposal for render options and/or some high school storefront options. Do we want to, is that later on the agenda, or is that pretty much, okay?
It's, we're going to discuss consent, and then we'll come back with BCHS and BCMS projects.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good. Thank
Give
you
you
all.
a chance to catch your breath.
Okay.
Okay, the next item on the working session is item number 5, discussion of consent items.
This month's consent items, 6A minutes, 6B September financial statement. Those are the monthly financial reports showing revenue and expenditures for the month. 6C is claims. That's all bills paid during the month. 6D, superintendent expenditures. That shows expenditures made on behalf of the superintendent for the month. 6C, travel. There's one travel for out-of-state overnight. That is for a high school ag teacher to attend the Tennessee Beef Expo sale on March 7th through 9th. 6F, use of facilities. BCHS softball and Bath County Upward 4-H are requesting use of our facilities. 6G is grant. Ms. Witt is asking for a grant, apply for a grant about a learning bus through the Kentucky Department of Education. A learning bus for after-school and summer programs up to $100,000. 6H, review of all monthly financial reports and funds. 6I, permission to pay bills through October 31st. 6J, KEDC New Horizons Academy MOU. KEDC is our local cooperative, and they have created an online school designed to address homeschool and at-risk students within our district. And they're doing this for all the districts in KEDC. There's 71 school districts. But we're asking for the board to approve an MOU to allow our DPP, Ms. Watkins, to go and try to get students who have chosen not to come back after the pandemic or who have been homeschooled for a long time to join the New Horizons Academy. They are our students, but they will do an online class through New Horizons KEDC. And the way that works is we'll get to seek funds for the students. At the end of the year, they will see what the cost is, and they'll charge us through those seek funds a portion to cover their costs for their teachers. And so it's really a great opportunity. We will not lose money in this instance. We can actually gain money, but it's a great opportunity to let students who do not want to come back to school, who have chosen homeschool, to enter this program, get a quality education, and still be a member of Bath County Schools. 6K, advertise, approve a surplus auction for December 16th. Just asking at this point for the ability to go ahead and advertise. As soon as that is approved by the November meeting, Mr. Detweiler will have a list of things that we plan on putting in the auction. 6L, annual audit financial report. This is the annual fiscal year report due to KDE by November 15th. And 6M, the FY23 audit report, is the annual audit report due to KDE by November 15th. Those are the consent items.
Is there any questions or discussion about any of the consent items? Any input? Okay, yeah, I don't hear any feedback from that, so we'll move on to item number 6, discussion and update on the Bath County High School project and Bath County Middle School.
And I failed to properly introduce you last time. This is Mr. Jonathan Reeves with Ross Terran Architects, Mr. David Rhodes with Pax Walker.
All right, thank you for the opportunity to give you an update. You know, Rob's typically up here, but you all know, or many of you may know, or may not, but Rob got a higher calling, okay? We couldn't stop that. We can't compete with the Almighty, okay? But Rob, he got called to preach full-time at a church, and as I say, he couldn't turn it down, all right? So we're certainly missing, but we got the individual, Mr. Anthony White. He's got a lot of experience. He just finished Clearfield Elementary, and he's on staff, and currently our project manager, and will be throughout the rest of the project. Just give you a little update on what's going on. The gym roof, as you all know, we've got it, the demolition's completed. They're starting to put it back. We've got the base and starting work on the parapet walls since we got that change order approved, so everything's going good there. We turned over a couple of classrooms here recently in the upstairs. We finished the sprinkler heads in phase 1, and we're starting to hang some HVAC units. Actually, they arrived a little sooner than what we thought, so we're able to do that, begin hanging some HVAC units in Area C hallways and making connections. We've changed some lights in some of the rooms, and begin the demo on the lower front gym roof, okay, between the I guess you call the media center, the lobby, you know, the lobby area there. We're starting to demo that roof. And next, what we're starting on now, we're starting a demolition of the media center, and all that area, the science health area, begin the demolition of those areas as well. And we're going to continue working on the gym roof as well during these next days, and then, you know, the electrical work and the HVAC work will follow. On the LAVEC project, the geothermal lines is pretty much complete on that, what we call phase 1. The geothermal field and system, they are complete. If I may say something about the seating and all that. All right, let me address that. The contractor, we were at a meeting we had a progress meeting, and he offered a credit if the owner wanted to do the seating, and I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah, seating and repair some of the fencing. And so after some conversation and trying to take advantage of the rain coming in, the area has been seeded. Mr. Thompson, he's addressed that. We felt like it was a good credit, should take advantage of it. And so that's, like I say, the seating is being complete, and it's a credit of around $34,000. And hopefully the board will approve. If not, we'll go back to the contractor and address it with him. But we just felt like it was timely. We needed to get this area seeded, and which was great. We caught the rain last week, and now we got some great weather. So hopefully see some germination there and grass start coming up. So hopefully you'll be receptive to that. On the LAVEC project in the phase 2, 85% of the ductwork in the classroom area. We have a small amount in the shop, but we're primarily concentrated in the classrooms. Restroom walls have been erected. A lot of the plumbing's taken place. Water supply line's been installed. Got electrical conduit going on. A lot of work going on in there. We set the new, we removed the old boiler and replaced it with a geothermal unit, and began running the interior geothermal main lines. And the next 19 days, whatever next working days, we'll complete some of the plumbing work in the restrooms. We'll begin the sprinkler runs, frame out the ceilings for the restrooms, continue on with electrical work, going to the new units and for the lights. And we got some CMU, some block repairs that we're doing as we go along. That's pretty much the report. Certainly entertain any questions. I hope the the feedback you're getting from the staff has been positive. Certainly keep us informed if there are issues, and we'll address them, immediately. But the feedback I'm getting that everything's working pretty well with the staff. But if you are receiving some complaints, please let us know, and maybe we've overlooked something, but we'll try to address them.
The only clarification I'll put on there is in terms of what's on the agenda for the actual start of the board meeting, item number 10 is the PR3 credit for the LAVEC project. I can go into depth about why that is a credit now. Beyond that, there is a same project, but as David mentioned, phase 1, there's a credit for no longer seeding or repairing some of the fencing for line item 13 on the agenda. So both of those are part of the LAVEC project, while line item number, where is it at? Line item number 9 on the agenda is the PR11 for the high school project. But, any of those we can discuss and, clarify anything if there's any questions.
There was one other wasn't discussed, the L.E. Gregg special inspections.
So yes, that one is related to the high school project as well.
Okay.
So that one's more an invoice. I believe last board meeting, you all approved to pay somewhere around like $75 for their one visit, and since then they've made several visits. And again, they inspect a lot of things that are structural or going to be concealed underground. So
So these
that's what the newest invoice is for.
They'll be ongoing. Yes, thank you.
Does the board have any other questions for either one of these fellas? Okay, thank you all. Appreciate it. The next item on the working session is item number 7, discussion of KIT's first offer of assistance.
Through the year, there are 3 offers of assistance that come from KDE through KETS. The first one is this one. What they're offering is to provide $19,602 to be used for technology. This is a matching grant, so upon approval, if the board commits to this, we will commit $19,602 for technology, and they will match. KETS is all our technology. It's yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Is there any other comments about the kits? Okay, and I think it's, if you look in your notes on the regular session, it will go into a little more detail about that, so. Any other discussion on item number 7? Okay, item number 8, other business. We're going to go a little different tonight on this. We've got a special presentation tonight, and I'm going to turn it over to those people and let them take the podium. Robin, I think everyone knows you, but please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Robin Toll, and I coach cross-country here at Bath County for Boys and Girls High School, and I also have elementary and middle school cross-country. Running. To some, it is merely to stay in shape, each step moving a person closer to a better version of themselves. To a select few, running is a lifestyle. To these people, they eat, talk, and sleep running. Tim Bailey is one of these select fews. Over the years, Tim has logged more than 50,000 miles, ran in countless races, mentored numerous other runners, and shared his love of the sport with anyone who cared to listen. Tim Bailey has been a witness and/or participant to every running milestone in Bath County High School track and field program history. He participated in track and cross country while a student at Bath County High School. He was a member of the 1972 team that won the Class A state track and field championship. In fact, under the guidance of legendary Bath County coaches Julian Cunningham, Tom Fee, and Ben Pumphrey, Bath County track never finished lower than 4th at state during Tim's high school career. Tim would become an assistant coach at Bath County High School in 1977 and worked with 2 other Bath County coaching legends, Nelson Garner and Hopi Newkirk, throughout the decades of the 80s. His first head coaching job would come in 1982 when he replaced Nelson Garner as the coach for cross country. He took over the track program in 1991 and has been involved with both programs ever since. In fact, the 2024 track season will mark Tim's 47th year as a coach with Bath County High School track program. And in that time, Tim's track teams have amassed 2,765 wins, with 2 regional championships and 6 runner-up finishes. His teams have been crowned Eastern Kentucky Conference champions 5 times, while also finishing as runner-ups in the EKC on 5 more occasions. While teaching, assisting, and guiding his sister, the cross-country coach, he has accrued an additional 11 boys state appearances, 2 regional championships, 2 regional runner-up finishes, 10 girls team state appearances with 3 regional championships and 3 regional runner-ups and 1 EKC championship finish. In his role as teacher and coach in the Bath County school system, Tim Bailey undoubtedly has impacted many lives in a positive manner. He has witnessed every school record that has been established in the Bath County High School track and cross-country history, and as a coach, punctuated every athlete's PR with a hearty and sincere great job. Tim's impact on this school and community, however, goes beyond that as a teacher and a coach. In 1988, Tim utilized his running platform to raise money for the underprivileged children of Bath County, raising money to purchase toys for needy families. In the 35 years of Tim's Toy Trot for Tots, Tim and his squad, mostly made up of family and friends, has raised over $100,000 to help the county's youth have a memorable Christmas, an act and service which led to Tim Bailey receiving the Bath County Volunteer of the Year Award. Any conversation regarding running in Bath County should begin and end with the name Timothy Paul Bailey. Oh, and we should remember that the school record holders, our state champions, our All-Americans, our other beloved coaches and athletes who toiled and practiced to perfect their craft. It is a long and storied history, a history that has one constant witness and participant. Therefore, it is fitting and proper that we honor that person whose name has become synonymous with Bath County track and cross country, Tim Bailey. May this honor continue his legacy and provide a place for other athletes to achieve their own personal triumphs. Thank you. This is a certificate of recognition. The Bath County Board of Education and Superintendent would like to recognize Tim Bailey for your dedication to our sports program and mentoring and contributing to our youth. The Tim Bailey Track and Field Facility. It is presented to you.
Can I get a group picture of you all right out here?
So I can't believe that that got pulled off without Tim knowing. Great surprise, and it was fun to do. So we're so thankful that his mother was able to come tonight and be here with him. And what our plans are, and it's not just a plan, it's going to happen, is in the spring at one of the spring track meets, we will be unveiling the sign that will have Tim's name on it at the track facility so that everyone, when they come in the parking lot, they can see when you, like Robin said, when you want to talk about running in Bath County, it starts with Tim Bailey. So thank you, Tim, for all those years of service. Now, item number 9, at 6:28 p.m., we're going to adjourn. And out in the lobby, we have cake and punch for Tim and recognizing him. So please stay with us and come out and have some cake and punch. And then we'll start the regular session back here at 7 o'clock. Thank you. I would like to call this regular session for the meeting of the Bath County School Board to order on October 23rd, 2023 at 7 o'clock p.m. Item number 2 is discussion and possible action on tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion has been made by Brenda and seconded by Barbara. Is there any further discussion of this item? If there's no further discussion, then all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 3, Pledge of Allegiance and Silent Devotion. At this time, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. At this time, we'll take a moment of silent devotion. Thank you. Item number 4, Student Spotlight, Bath County Middle School.
Good evening. Tonight I want to recognize a group that's put in some really hard work this year. As you all know, our girls basketball team, they have one season. Our middle school football team has one season, and so does our boys basketball team. But with our girls here that you see tonight, our middle school cheerleaders, these girls show up for all 3 of those sports to put their support in place. And I just want to let them know that they're appreciated and make sure that they are recognized for their hard work. At this time, I'm going to ask their coach, Miss Tammy Staten, to come up and talk to us a little bit about some of the things that they've done this year.
Hello, everyone. As the girls get introduced, you'll be noticing that they are wearing different outfits. I wanted to show them off because our 8th grade is actually sporting our new uniforms for this year. The 7th and 6th grade are showing off outfits that's worn during our camp and girls basketball games. And our 5th grade is wearing our outfits that were worn during our football games. One is wearing the jersey, and then underneath it says the I Love BC shirts, though. Our year has started in the spring of last school year. After tryouts and before we started having practices, all middle school cheerleaders were asked to complete 5 trainings from the National Federation of State High School Association. These trainings are sportsmanship, social media, bullying, hazing, inappropriate behaviors, concussions in sports, and the student's experience. As the coach, I thought that these trainings was essential and made a good foundation for our team. I also completed additional trainings, including the Kentucky Association of Prep Organization sponsor, held at the KHSAA office in Lexington, Kentucky. Also there, I participate in the NFHS and UCA cheer rules updates with pyramid stunts, techniques, and spotting, along with KHSAA updates on high school cheer and KPOS updates for middle school and elementary cheer. Our middle school cheerleaders did not just attend one camp this year, they attend 2. This summer, the cheerleaders participate in a Universal Cheerleading Association, which is called UCA Home Camp, where we were able to build our camp to fit the benefits and needs of our squad. The camp was the first time our squad had got a taste of the game day routine. It's an honor to say that our middle school team received their Superior Award during this camp. During the UCA camp, cheerleaders can try out for the UCA All-America Cheerleader, which means that cheerleaders demonstrate the appropriate skills of cheerleading with enthusiasm, sharp motions, dance, cheer, facial expressions, and jumps. Participants were judged on a short dance routine, a cheer, and the best jump of their choice. If one receives the All-American Cheerleader medal, the cheerleader can perform in special events. Just to name a few, the Orlando Thanksgiving Tour at Walt Disney World Resort, the Thanksgiving Day Parade, the Universal Varsity Spirit Pearl Harbor Memorial Parade in Hawaii. And I would like to recognize, and we had 4 of our cheerleaders to receive this outstanding honor of being the All-American Cheerleader. Once I call your name, would you please just stand up real quick? 8th grade, Sophie Stevens. 8th grade, Kalia Jones. 7th grade, Scott Helton. And 7th grade, Scarlett King. By attending the UCA camp, our middle school cheerleaders can now participate in the UCA Bluegrass Regional Cheer Competition in Lexington, Kentucky on November the 18th, where they will compete for the bid for the national title to be able to go to Orlando, Florida at Walt Disney World. The cheerleaders have hosted their 2nd camp at the start of August. It was their choreography camp. We had a choreographer to come to the middle school to teach the squad their game day competition routine. In November, this will be the first time our middle school will compete as the junior high large game day routine division. Our squad will also be competing in the 16th region middle school KPOS competition held on November the 21st. I have seen these girls overcome the challenge of jumping from space to space for practices, not having equipment to learn additional cheer skills, the safety concern when not having the whole cheer floor to properly practice the routines. And I keep on watching these girls fall all the time on the gym floor or outside on the ground. And they keep getting up, and they keep moving forward and not letting anything stand in their way. And I've only seen great things happening for the squad, and I continue to look forward for the rest of our cheer season.
So as you can see, our girls have put in a lot of hard work, but our coach has also brought a lot of things to our school and to the team to give them a lot of opportunities. So at this time, we are going to call our girls up. So if you'll just come up and get your certificate. Macy Klein, Santana Strange, Katie Deal, Kalia Jones, Sophie Stevens, Addie Charles, Emmeline Weiss, Scarlett King, Brooklyn Harden, Jadelyn Eccles, Bailey Swartz, Sky Helton, Daisy Ingram, Courtney Ferguson, Carson Branham, Kinsey Sparks, and Delilah Crouch. Let's give this team one more round of applause, please. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. We're very proud of you.
So once again, we want to thank the Bath County Middle School cheerleaders and their coaching staff for coming out tonight and that presentation. We're so thankful for them, and we wish them to be safe at all times. Item number 5, superintendent and board communication.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. This time I just want to take a brief moment to share some thoughts after the nickel tax passed last week. I want to take this opportunity and thank the board for their support of the nickel tax. We have opened our middle school to the public many times and made every effort to show the issues we are facing and the financial challenges that lie before us. Now it is time for the public to decide. If this goes to a vote next November, you're really voting for two things. One, whether or not to let our students continue to go into a decaying middle school. And two, whether or not to individually support the losing effort on the upkeep of this school on our own. You see, if the nickel passes, the state will contribute $477,000 per year to our building fund. If the nickel fails, the citizens will end up paying the same rate down the road, and we will only have enough funds to pay for Band-Aid repairs on the middle school. It's really a binary choice, and you will get to decide. As we progress, the district will host events designed to show the benefits of the nickel and what it can do for our students and our county. I look forward to the opportunity to meet with all of you and work to make our district the best it can be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Evans. Item number 6, discussion and possible action approving the following items. A, minutes, September 18th and October 12th, 2023. B, September financial statement. C, claims. D, superintendent expenditures. E, travel. F, use of facilities. G, grant. H, review of all monthly financial reports of all funds. I, pay bills through October 31st, 2023. J, KEDC New Horizons Academy MOU. K, advertise and approve surplus auction scheduled for December 16th, 2023. L, annual audited financial report, AFR. And M, fiscal year for year 2023 audit report.
I'll make the motion to approve 6A through 6M.
Second.
Motion's been made by Carla and seconded by Eric. Is there any further discussion of these items? If there's no further discussion, then all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 7 is public comments, and we did not have any public comments turned in tonight, so there will be no public comments. Item number 8, possible action on KIT's first offer of assistance.
I'll make the motion to accept the KIT's first offer of assistance in the amount of $19,602.
I'll second.
So the motion has been made by Brenda and seconded by Barbara. Is there any further discussion of this item?
It's through technology. So the Department of Education, they will match our, if we put in 19602, they'll put in 19602. It's for computers, technology. They do 3 a year, so there'll be 2 more coming. So.
Okay, if there is no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 9, discussion and possible action on the Bath County High School HVAC renovation BG 22-376 PR11 door hardware modifications for 4 doors in the gym at $1,098 additional.
I make that motion.
Motion's been made by Eric and seconded by Carla. Is there any further discussion of the item? If there's no further discussion, then all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 10, discussion and possible action on the Bath Layvac Phase 2 BG 22-520 PR03 sink fixture at a credit of $2,888 for 24 sinks specified when the new solid surface counters have integral sinks already included in the scope.
Second.
Motion's been made by Carla and seconded by Eric. Is there any further discussion of this item? If there's no further discussion, then all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 11, discussion and possible action on the consideration approval of a special inspection invoice from L.E. Gregg for $1,549.75 for the Bath County High School miscellaneous renovations project BG 22-376.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Eric and seconded by Brenda. Is there any further discussion of this item?
Yes, I have a question. We had talked previously that this was like $75 each time they came and did an inspection. Do you anticipate how many more inspections we're going to have?
Not quantity. I can go look back at the proposal to see how many they estimated on their proposal. They did include, I think, in the document that I submitted to the board, the remaining balance on their proposal. So how many visits? Not sure on that answer, but there is a remaining balance to cover the additional visits, but I don't have that.
So this is additional visits?
These, they're not additional beyond the contract. I think they were invoiced to have a total of maybe, I don't want to tell you the wrong number, but like maybe $7,000 on their proposal. And that covered multiple visits throughout the project. So they're just invoicing a part of their original agreed upon proposal amount. How many more visits? I don't have that number for you right now unless it's included in the invoice.
Oh, so these visits are ones that were already included?
In the original proposal, yes. And they're just invoicing them as they go along with the end goal that when their last
Okay,
visit's done,
okay.
the full thing be invoiced out.
Okay, I understand.
If there's no further discussion, then all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
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 Just a comment, their balance is on the back of that. If you invoice, you have that, their balance is, still have over $6,000 remaining.
Okay.
So-
So they're just invoicing a few at a time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 12, discussion and possible action on the consideration for approval of Ross Tarrant's rendering a proposal for Bath County Middle School.
Mr. Ruiz is here to make that presentation, and Mr. Rhodes.
So what Mr. Rhodes is handing out is actually two presentations. If you want to put your attention to the one, I think titled the Bath County Middle School Rendering Case Studies, we wanted to ultimately present some examples of what we've done in the past, and then some examples of what you can expect on rendering quality. So there's two presentations. I just want to point your attention to the first one. As you all flip through them at your leisure, I believe like the first, say, 10 examples, maybe 9 examples, before you get to a blank stopping point, are just typical exterior, maybe interior views of other schools that we've done as a rendering to kind of give you an idea of how we can envision a front entry piece for the middle school or a major social space in the middle school itself. So I think your first image, just an example of the STEAM Academy in Fayette County exterior, and an example of the interior main kind of communal space that is kind of their cafeteria. Beyond that, there are examples of George Rogers Clark High School, and in that example is more of an athletic feel if you want to kind of have an image of a gym interior or a gym lobby area. Bowling Green High School are the other two options that come up next, and that is, again, an exterior image to kind of see what we could design for a building. And then an interior view, again, of a more public area within that high school. And then I believe the last three before we transition to the next section are about Woodford County High School. Again, a shot of the exterior of the building to get people excited of what you could possibly see for a building on approach. And then 2 interior shots of Woodford County High School renderings of a media center or major cafeteria area. The second half starts to show you the kind of quality of rendering you could expect for the middle school. So it's still showing exterior, interior, but I really wanted to draw your focus on like how detailed the scenery could be, how the exterior site could look when it comes to vehicular traffic or canopy looks. So these are still similar projects that we also have done, but it's just produced in a more consistent kind of high-level export of a render versus the first batch are a little mixture of different kind of aesthetics. So the second batch here, I just want to draw your attention to the quality of the scenes, the quality of the interior, and how realistic and grounding the options are for what we could provide for you for the middle school. And then the last image ultimately being Clark County Preschool, being a little bit more recent of an example of what we've been able to provide, and just another example of what you can expect for a middle school renovation or replacement project. So the proposal in front of you on the agenda includes an exterior perspective view and an interior perspective view as part of like the initial base proposal cost. If there were additional views or additional options you want us to work on, we can definitely do that, but that would be at additional cost beyond the first 2 images. So just wanted to make sure that you all knew that, and if you had any questions, we can be free to clarify anything. The second presentation, I can go in more in depth about under other business, because that's pertaining to the high school content.
Okay, so do you want to talk about the high school and other business?
We can do that, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So board, I brought this idea forward because, you know, when we had the tax hearing last week, I was kind of taken by on the tour, the walking tour, how many people were interested in possibly doing a new building versus a renovation. And, you know, I thought, well, I'm up for anything. We have to have the money first, but I was just really surprised that people were even interested in it. Well, with that said, I thought, you know, the community needs to see, I mean, you can kind of vision, okay, it's the middle school as it stands, a renovation, you know, you can't really see a lot. You know, there's going to be a lot of interior things going to happen. There's going to be some exterior things happen. But a new school, a new look for the community, I think all the people of Bath Countyans need to see. If we were looking at some type of design for a new building, we need to see what we're talking about and have some type of, you know, something to look at that we could get behind. And we may not like what they come back with. We may have to tell them, no, that doesn't fit our community. It may not, you know, the look may not, we may not like it. So, you know, I'm for us giving Ross Tarrant the go-ahead to create some type of first steps rendering of a middle school. Like I said, we don't even know if we're going to be able to do something down the road because, you know, we're kind of thinking that the nickel tax will have to go to a vote, and we understand that. But if we do, we need to be ready to start and hit the road running. We've got $7 million that has got to be spent, and I did want to make sure the board knew. We checked in this week on the $7 million that we got for a renovation. We contacted KDE, and we are allowed to use that $7.146 million for the renovation of the middle school, or we can put it toward new construction also. So we would not lose it. I think we kind of all thought we would lose it if we did a new construction, but we do not lose it. And we do have an email that says that, right?
That is correct.
Okay. So anyways, that was my input on the middle school artistic rendition of it.
What's the time limit on that?
Say that again.
What's the time limit that we have to spend that or have it engaged?
December 2026 is when the $7 million has to be spent. And as we roll into our BG1, we'll just spend that first. So it shouldn't be an issue.
And just to comment on Mr. Steele's comment on how we can come up with options for what the views look like, we will work with whoever is determined to be like the main steering committee for high-level programming goals for what this building could look like. We're not trying to necessarily jump ahead and fully design the building without necessarily knowing if the funds are there and ultimately if there's a need for us to pursue that effort. But with this, we do foresee having programming conversations to make sure we understand what you want to envision this front entrance to look like and what you want, say you want the cafeteria to be the interior shot, what that needs to look like, how it needs to look, feel, and ultimately excite people to look at the possibilities of this new project. So it could definitely be ultimately the board who wants to maybe help inform that, or if we need to work with the principal of the middle school, whoever that ends up being, to kind of refine what the goal is for whatever the product looks like.
And I gave the direction Mr. Ruiz, that the exterior should be a shot of the front of the building and that we kind of keep it looking like the original. But that is just a suggestion. Again, that would be everybody's choice. And I think we have the option of like really a close-up front shot or an aerial photo. So there's a lot of decisions to be made.
Yeah, a lot of decisions. The aerial definitely would have to be a little bit more nuanced because it does include more site development. So I will say that technically the cost for the exterior shot has to be more of like a true perspective, straight-on shot. If it's aerial is desired, there's examples of what that could look like in the packet, but that would cost a little bit more. How much more? I can probably look at the language of the proposal to kind of get you what that difference is. But truly speaking, the current proposal would be a typical standing on the ground, looking at the front of the building, exterior view, and then includes also an interior view of whatever space you all feel is appropriate. We can definitely do an aerial view, should the board feel that that's an option. It just won't be included as like a default product for the proposal in front of you. But that is an option we can provide, should the board see fit.
One thing to add to this also, Thursday of this week, we have a planning committee meeting here in this auditorium. And that planning committee is working towards creating the plan for the future for Bath County schools and construction, whatever that may be. Anyways, myself and Eric are both on that committee, and we need to give them some direction Thursday night. They need to know, a little bit of direction. We need to word it in that plan when it goes to KDE that we want the option to possibly build new or renovate, both. That way we can go either way, however it needs to be. Okay, thank you. I think it's it. I don't think so.
Mr. Ruiz, are you coming Thursday?
Yes,
Okay.
I am.
And since I asked for it, I'm going to go ahead and make the motion that we accept Ross Durant's proposal for creating artistic rendering for a new Bath County Middle School.
Second.
Motion was made by John and seconded by Eric.
With both options, renovating and
Yes,
new.
yes. The rendering will only show what a new school would look like. Is there any other further discussion on this item? Okay, if there's no further discussion, then all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Item number 13, discussion and possible action on the Bath LAVAC Phase 2 BG 22-520, the pending review confirmation. The geothermal wellfield contractor offered a $34,000 credit for no longer seeding/maintaining the wellfield, addressing topsoil grading and replacing fence. We discussed this in working
Yes.
session, so you want to add anything to it?
No, like I say, Mr. Thompson, he was at the meeting. We all had a conversation and thought it was a reasonable price. And like I say, with the weather coming in, we wanted to get it seeded as soon as possible. So we went ahead and we were just hoping that you would take the credit.
Well, they offered a lot of money for the seeding, so, yes. Okay, so everybody knows, anybody want to go ahead and give a motion for that? Okay.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Carla and seconded by Barbara. Is there any further discussion of the item? If there's no further discussion, then all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
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 Yes. All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes 5-0. 14 is other business. Do we have any other business that anybody on the board? Okay, go ahead. You guys are busy tonight.
Yes, we are. So last time we were in front of you all, we reviewed the storefront at the former main entry of what we call Phase 1, Area B, different names, but that tall storefront area. The packet in front of you all with the storefront in front on the cover sheet has 5 options. I really want to draw your attention to the first 3, because the first 3 are what we discussed as a group to address a few key goals. At the end, we'll talk about the backup options that don't quite meet y'all's goals, but are also options on the table. The downside is we don't have costs for those backup options, but we do have opinions of probable cost for the first 3. So just to recap, the overall goal was, one, to find a way to fully replace as much of that infill of a storefront situation right now with a new exterior brick or metal panel look, so that it's, one, watertight and doesn't have any chance of leaking in the future. Number two, there was a challenge for us to kind of see how we can make the entry area look less like a formal entry, since it's no longer the main entry of the building. And then number three, if possible, see how we can still introduce some daylighting from some windows into the lobby. So option number one starts to go for a more similar aesthetic, where you're trying to match the brick that's adjacent to this overall storefront. It keeps your canopy in place and just refreshes it with some replacement of some of the plywood on the edges and repainting and patching and repair, but mainly to know that this includes 2 windows that kind of match your classroom windows. It reduces your doors from 3 sets to 2 sets, and all this really does is makes your entire location look like that storefront tall window area didn't exist, and try to help lend it back to the existing brick and window pattern of the rest of the building. The trade-off here, though, is that technically your canopy still exists, and so while it gets refreshed, it still feels like a main entry because of how tall it is, but you get a brick look that kind of hides the fact that there was a tall, large glass area there in the first place. And you can see at the bottom right that roughly that's looking to be estimated at $115,000. The caveat I'll give out for each of these items is, one, this assumes that we get to keep the existing steel beam and columns in place. There's no guarantee that once they start to demolish and see what's behind the frames that are hiding the columns or what's exposed from the beam that's above the doors, that those don't need to get removed and ultimately replaced. So the numbers you see here assumes that they're still in good shape and that the demo has no complexity, and you can basically remove everything, keep the structure in place, and infill with a look that's brick and similar windows as the rest of the building. Option 2 does something similar, except it gives you a little bit more of a updated exterior look. So it introduces some metal panel in a kind of pattern that's kind of tessellated, and the canopy itself also remains. It just gets maybe some accent colors, and overall it makes the whole exterior face there look a little bit more updated. However, it's around the same cost. The difference is, do you prefer option 1, where it's a little bit more blending into the rest of the building, or option 2, where it's a little bit more, hey, the canopy's still here, so at least let's make the whole thing look a little bit more updated and stand out a little bit more than the rest of the building. Then option 3 starts to get you a lot of the objectives that were identified, but it totally changes the elevation of the building. So the main points here is, it doesn't just treat in that diagram a little dashed blue zone of the existing tall glass. It does that for sure, and then it also expands outwards, left and right, and vertically, to kind of hide anything that's revealed from when the canopy that's currently there gets removed. Chances are that once that gets removed, it's a bunch of like either really terrible looking brick, or worst case scenario, it's just exposed CMU or concrete masonry units that are behind it. So to address all of that, this one kind of expands a little bit further outside of the glass area itself and gets you a uniform look using some metal panel very similar to the gym parapet metal panel that you all get eventually. But it does do a full ground to roof, about 28 feet tall and about 30 feet wide of new metal panel exterior look. The windows themselves are also a totally different look. They're trying to help relate to the interior lighting design that's happening in that space. It's not really shown in this rendering, but in the lighting of that lobby, there are some suspended pendant lights that are linear, and they kind of hang down, and there may be like 4 or 5 of them in the center. So these vertical windows are trying to help give some light in there, but also get you a look that works well with the inside. The last piece that kind of bumps up the cost here is, not only do you remove your canopy, but then you get a longer but shorter pre-engineered canopy to cover the doors for whenever it rains. So option 3 costs the most. However, it addresses your goal of trying to make this look less like a mid-entry. It gets you an overall aesthetic of treating whatever might be hidden behind the canopy, and it still gets you some window options on the interior. It's just the most different option. I can pause there before I go on to options 4 and 5 as the backup options to consider, but I think the main goal is that technically there's no action you have to take formally today. We'll just need to know what direction in one of the options or two of the options you all prefer for us to formalize and have Pax Walker actually formally price. We've worked together to get you an estimate, but that's without each of the individual subcontractors knowing all the details and all the ins and outs. So that's what we're looking for from you all today is if the goal was to fully replace it, that's options 1, 2, and 3. If for whatever reason the sticker price of options 1, 2, and 3 are just way too much for what you all anticipated, we can talk about options 4 and 5, which ultimately bring back one option where it was already in the project, but it doesn't really do what you necessarily wanted. It kind of just replaces the windows 1 for 1, and that's it. Or option 5, which is a more Band-Aid solution of keeping everything the way it is now and just putting some joint sealant around all the glass and all the frames. So 4 and 5 are not really doing what you were challenging us to try to come up with, but they're an option should 1, 2, and 3 not be in the ballpark or aesthetically the goal that you all were looking for.
Okay, some questions. In option 1 and 2,
Yes.
the canopy and the 2 columns, do they virtually not get touched at all?
Options 1 and 2, they get patched and repaired. So wherever there's a part that might have, some plywood hanging off or some paint splash, just know that both options get fully repainted, fully touched up, and refreshed to be as if it was new. The trade-off is that it still exists, so it feels like a great entry still. And between the two of them, option 2 would maybe introduce some accent colors. So maybe you all like to have a little bit more of like the gray kind of contrast with some of your white paint. So what that looks like, we can get you some more specifics, but they do get repaired, they do get repainted. It's just aesthetically, do you like all white like you currently have, or do you want to have a accent color that introduces some white and gray to it?
Okay, option number 3, does that price include demolition of the canopy and columns?
Yes. I don't know if you want to comment on like how, so when we discussed about how to approach this, the general cost for fully demoing the existing canopy was nearly the same cost roughly as like patching and repairing the canopy. There might be some nuances about like how much it is to rent a certain kind of size dumpster or how they dispose of some of the pieces of the canopy, but the cost to patch and repair and refresh the whole thing was almost the same price as fully tearing it down. So yes, it is incorporated in there. I just wanted to let you know that the canopy cost is incorporated with each option. The main trade-off between 1 and 2, keep it, you spend that money to refresh it as it is, versus option 3, spending that money to fully just get rid of it.
Okay, and we can take the next month, 30 days to,
I think
decide.
so. I think so. The only thing that's kind of complicated about it is the doors that are currently already there. The new versions of those have been ordered. So sure, we can take as much time as needed to make a decision. It just might limit us on what kind of in-the-field decisions need to be made for how those doors that have been ordered get incorporated into the overall design. I think my last piece I want to emphasize is that while these numbers are estimates, again, they don't indicate anything related to them starting demolition, and then they realize that the steel that's holding up the glass above is too compromised and they have to get rid of it. We really try to keep them in place, but that's at the discretion of what is discovered once they actually tap into the overall assembly. And I don't know if David has anything else to add.
Is that on all of them or just the 1 and 2 option?
All of them.
So it's not incorporated in option 3?
Yeah. options 1, 2, and 3 do not account for some kind of contingency cost for replacing or repairing the steel that is currently holding up the glass in the doors. That would be on top of whatever we're doing here. So we're made the assumption that like if they're currently fine and they demolish the door frames and demolish the windows and there's no issues with what remains behind, then that can stay in place. And the number here would be just to infill everything else that was supposed to be selected. But if they demolish it and they find out that that beam is about to fall apart, or that it's not properly grouted, whatever minor work that needs to be done to those columns or steel beams, or whatever major replacement needs to happen for them, that stuff for the steel structure is not included in this cost. And that's just because we can't make any assumptions without really knowing what those look like once they actually tap into them. Does that make sense?
Right, yeah. Yes, this is all preliminary. You know, we do have some limited drawings that we're basing this price on. So if you can eliminate 2 of them or select one, that'd be great. We could, define our numbers and get you a little more information. And also, work, because we just have to hold up till a decision is made. So just keep that in mind.
I have a question, David. Those 2 columns,
Yes.
are they in good condition? Have anyone looked at those?
I think,
Because that would probably sway us one way or the other if those columns were not in good condition.
So when, I think today, our site superintendent, Anthony White, he went over and looked at them, and he noticed that the beams themselves, they had some cuts into them from some previous repair job that's been done to them. Now, if those cuts are like truly structurally a problem, we don't know. But we do know there's evidence of something cutting into the beam, for one. And number 2, the columns themselves, he says that there's evidence of the grout that surrounds that column or the concrete that surrounds the column has maybe deteriorated already. And that's just from what he could see looking at it without removing the stuff.
I'm sorry, you talking about are you referencing the columns on the canopy? Yeah, the big ones. No, that's fine. I think they're okay. I haven't really spent a lot of time, really looking at them, but I think structurally they're fine, and I think they're structural columns.
Yeah, I have no comment about the
Yeah.
canopy one. I thought you meant on the door themselves.
Yeah, there at the doors, there is some evidence of maybe some issues that we have to address once we get into it, yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be regardless, don't you think?
We just don't know how much is like required to be replaced until we start the work. Versus, hey, it's not the best, but maybe we could shore it up a little bit or put some grout and, work with it in place. We don't know what extent the existing structure has to get replaced. Column canopy wise, we have no issue or no observations that it's falling apart. So we do feel that the canopy itself could just be refreshed and not worry about replacing the column itself. So as David said, really what we're looking for is, feel like there's a direction you really feel that we should go ahead and price, or 2, we can sharpen our pencils and get you actual numbers once we've detailed them out for them to get you solid numbers. And then it would be our recommendation to be one of the first 3, because again, the goal was to basically not have a Band-Aid solution, which in our opinion, 4 and 5 are Band-Aids. And it could be a decision that's shared with us later. You don't have to make it right now because it's not an actionable item on the agenda.
Well, it's a lot of information to, try to think about. And we knew it was coming, but now, we've got some numbers to look at some of the things with. So it helps us now to envision and actually have a discussion about. So, yeah, yeah, okay.
Okay.
I guess my question to the board is, does the board want to take any action on this tonight?
What, do we have a consensus?
Well, not yet. If, I guess the first question is if we want to take some kind of action tonight, and I hear a yes down here, and what do you guys think on this end?
I mean, looking at the options, I mean, I'd be for option 3, because that's less maintenance later on down the road.
None of us have seen this tonight, and I cannot believe we're all on option 3. That is unbelievable. No. Well, 4 and 5 are just Band-Aids, and we're not gonna get anything for our money. We're gonna be right back in this, the leaking and all kinds of problems, so. Okay. So if someone wants to make a, motion, we'll get this thing done.
How do you want to make it? I'll make a motion
Just make a motion to
to approve.
choose option 3.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve option 3 for the high school storefront replacement proposal.
Second.
The motion's been made by Carla and seconded by Eric. Is there any further discussion of this item? If there's no further discussion, then all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Item number 15, motion to go into executive session pursuant to KRS 61.8101F personnel.
Motion.
Second.
Motion's been made by Brenda and seconded by Barbara. Is there any further discussion of this item? If there's no further discussion, then all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion carries 5-0. We are now in executive session.
I make a motion to come out of executive session, no action taken.
Second.
Okay, hold on a second. I need to read the item number 16. Motion to come out of executive session, take any necessary action. And there has been a motion made by Eric and a second by Barbara. Is there any further discussion of the item? If there's no further discussion, then all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 17 is adjournment.
Motion.
Second.
And the motion's been made by Eric, second by Brenda. Is there any further discussion of the item? If there's no further discussion of the item, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please signify by no. Motion carries 5-0.